Welcome back. TaxSlayer Gator Bowl, another edition of college football. I hope everybody's doing well. We had a major press conference yesterday to announce our prospective teams, to talk about the 75th anniversary ticket pricing, to talk about all of our programs, to get people to fill up the stadium and come out and help us make a big splash in our 75th game. And we'd ask for your help here in Jacksonville to fill that stadium up. The biggest thing I want to tell you about today is that for $75, 75th anniversary, you can get 4 tickets and a parking pass to this year's game. We think that's a great program, and we're looking forward to having the fans enjoy a Thursday night here in Jacksonville on January the 2nd at 7 p.m. to watch the 75th Classic of the TaxSlayer Gator Bowl. So I wanted to get that off and get everybody to understand, and then we talked about the events surrounding the game. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about game day. We're really excited this year to be able to utilize all of our new facilities here at the stadium. We will be using the practice flex field for our tailgate party. That tailgate party is open to the public. All you have to do is come down and it's free. It costs you nothing. We've got a tremendous number of special guests coming in. Obviously, our Send a Child to the Game program will get to have access there. We have a program where we're inviting high school football teams to come to the game and be our guests. They will have access to that area, as well as the fans from out of town. There'll be interactive games. There'll be all kinds of things for people to do. Food and beverage on the outside of that facility for purchase. So we think we're going to have a really good time there. Then inside on Daly's Place, we will have both the air walls open, so you can be in the tailgate and you can be in Daly's Place. And we will have a live concert for an hour and a half. We will bring the marching bands and the cheerleaders, both of the teams in, and we will have a great time prior to the game leading up to 6:30. And then, of course, we'll ask everybody to come into the stadium and we'll have the kickoff of the 75th game. So those are some of the special events that we announced yesterday. If you need any information on any of those pricings or packages or are interested in our events, please go to TaxSlayerGatorBowl.com. Okay, so let's talk about a little bit about football. So let's start with the Big Ten. We'll talk about the Big Ten first. You know, one of the things that we do know is we kind of get the feeling for the teams that are not going to be bowl eligible, and you can pretty much eliminate those teams. So if we're going to do that, we can go right here and take Northwestern off because there's no way they can be bowl eligible. Obviously, Rutgers can't become bowl eligible. Maryland can't become bowl eligible. So now that we take those people that can't become bowl eligible, these 2 teams still have an opportunity to be bowl eligible, so let's leave them on the board. Illinois at 6-4 playing Iowa this week is a big game to see how Illinois does and what their next step is. Obviously, Iowa we think is a pretty good team. They beat Minnesota last week. They're playing Illinois, as I said. Wisconsin against Purdue. One would think that Wisconsin can handle Purdue, but you just don't ever know. You think Minnesota can handle Northwestern. Again, you don't know, but that's what we're going to go with. That these 2 teams will continue to win. Michigan State's got to win out. They have that ability to get to 6-6 and be bowl eligible. Again, we really like this team, Indiana. They're 7-3, big, huge game at Michigan this weekend. We think if this team can get 8-4 or better, that they have not been to a bowl game in Florida, that might be a good pick for us. Obviously, Michigan will be on the board after the CFP at 8-2. They're playing Indiana, and then of course they've got a date with Ohio State. Penn State's bounce back win last week was really good. So that kind of shakes out what we're looking at here. I would tell you that it's our belief that these 2 teams will play the CFP. So we think that Ohio State wins out. We think Ohio State will be in the Final Four, and then we think Penn State will be the team in the Rose Bowl. So we think those 2 teams will be gone, but that still gives you some awfully good teams to be in our mix. I'm going to hold off on the ACC side of it where we can talk about our home team. We'll go over here and we'll do the same thing that we did over there. We'll take that team off. We'll take that team off and that team off. They cannot get bowl eligible. You obviously know that right now Missouri is on probation, but they've appealed to the NCAA. So Missouri, if the appeal works, and I don't know what the heck NCAA is doing waiting this late, but if it works, they're in if they can win 6 games. The same thing with Georgia and Florida and LSU and Alabama. We believe 3 of those teams will play up into the CFP and will not be available to us. Right now, it's my belief that Georgia, LSU, and Alabama are those 3 teams. There is a possibility that Florida could be the 4th SEC team to get in, so we're kind of watching that. We'd love to have the Gators become available in our mix, obviously, but we do know that Tennessee, if they get to 7-5, if we could get Missouri, South Carolina is not going to be bowl eligible. If we can get to Missouri getting bowl eligible, then you have Missouri, Kentucky. If these 2 teams are gone, A&M, we can't have A&M back. We had them last year, so they could really come off the board, and that would leave you with Auburn, and of course Mississippi State has to win their last 2 to get bowl eligible. So there's enough teams right now to populate the CFP and the bowl games that we're in the pool with. So we're starting to really like Tennessee. They've won a bunch of games in a row. Big game this weekend. Watching them play at Missouri. Missouri plays very good at home. If Tennessee could win there, they play Vanderbilt the last game, they could get to 7-5 and had won 5 out of their last 6. That would be a home run for us. The new poll is out, obviously. So based on what we're talking about with the CFP, you can just see LSU, Ohio State, Clemson, Georgia, Alabama. Well, if Georgia's the Eastern Division champion and LSU's the Western Division champion, one of those 2 teams is going to play, and one of those 2 teams is going to lose, and that team then drops out of the Final 4. We think Alabama will stay in this area right here, 5, 6, 7, 8. That will get them into the New Year's Day 6 bowl games. And then you come on down here and you can see Oregon, Utah, Penn State, Oklahoma. They're all in that mix. Minnesota could get in it with a win over Wisconsin next week. We think Florida's going to hang out in this area and will be on the borderline of either being available in our mix or they'll be playing in the CFP. Of course, Wisconsin, Michigan, Auburn, you can start seeing the teams that will be available. Notre Dame, it appears, will not be in the New Year's Day 6. If that's the case, then they drop down into our bowl mix. I truly believe that the Camping World Bowl has the first pick, that the first thing that they're going to do if Notre Dame is there is they'll take Notre Dame. That takes them out of our mix. What if we wanted to go as ACC? What if there was ability to go ACC? Let's just say the Music City Bowl comes to us and says, Indiana, which is the state right next to Tennessee, we would like to have Indiana. Could you guys switch for something over here? Well, you start looking at 7-3, Virginia Tech playing 7-3. Pittsburgh, one of those teams, wins that game. They get to 8 wins. Virginia and Virginia Tech play the last game of the year. That will probably decide the division champion. The division champion then will come off of our board. And so that could leave us with either Virginia or Virginia Tech. This is a very interesting team to us right now. They're 6-4. It appears that they have a really good shot at winning their last 2 games to get them to 8-4. And oh yeah, winning a whole bunch of games at the end. They started really slow, and in the last 7 or 8 games, they've really played well, and they're really coming along. The problem here that people are asking me now is Florida State. If there's 8-4 teams on the board up here, then the 6-6 Florida State, if they lose to Florida, but if Florida State wins and gets to 7-5, we've got a real chance to maybe trade for Florida State. I would love to have Florida State now that they're starting to play a little bit better. I really like Miami. I think the committee really likes Virginia Tech. So those are the kinds of teams that we're looking at in the ACC. But again, we're still focused on Big Ten. We're still focused on Michigan, Indiana, Illinois, Iowa, those kinds of teams. Now, we've had Iowa, so we can't have Iowa again. So for you Iowa fans, sorry, but even if they finish great, we're not going to be able to take them. This kind of gives you a feel, though, for what's coming down the pike. You know, we've got this weekend some really good football games, as I pointed out, Tennessee, Missouri, very, very important to us. Texas A&M, Georgia is a big game. We really like the Virginia Tech-Pittsburgh game, to be watching that game very closely. And then, of course, when you get over here, Indiana playing Michigan, these 2 teams, one team's going to kind of really get exciting and one team's going to kind of be down a little bit. So we're excited about that matchup. Those are the matchups to watch. Now, the bottom line is a lot of teams are not playing big teams this week. Abilene Christian, Samford, Western Carolina, UT Martin, some of those games that will go on today don't mean a lot. But the following weekend, Florida State, it's called Rivalry Weekend. That's when we will really basically solve everything and know who won within 1 or 2 teams of who's going to be playing in our bowl game. Championship games will follow that, then team selection on the 8th here at the stadium. There's a great Jaguar game happening at 4 o'clock. we're looking forward to seeing you next week to talk a little bit more about college football. Thank you so much.